Hello, friends, and welcome into Outreach Radio Chicago. I'm your host, Michael Mercado, and I want to thank you so much for making us a part of your day. We're everywhere in the universe. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Do us a huge favor. Go to Facebook and like the radio page at Outreach Radio Chicago. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Mike Mercado2333. We're on Instagram at Mike Mercado2333. So give us a like there to see cool photos of the show and stuff that we're working on. And we have a new webpage, guys. Go to mercadoairwaves.wordpress.com and you can see all the cool stuff that we are working on. Audio editorials, top 10s, cool interviews, and so much more. Thank you guys so much for all the support that you've been giving us here and all the other platforms. We have so many cool things still down the pipeline, and I hope you guys stick around for that. On today's episode, we have two really cool interviews. On the first interview, we talked to the energetic Dr. Cass Ingram. Later on, Dr. David Magnano gives us some helpful hints to beat the battle of the summer barbecue bloat. All that and more here on Outreach Radio Chicago. Stay tuned. From AmericanWildFoods.com and CassIngram.com. He is a great author, great doctor, one of our favorite guests. Dr. Cass Ingram, welcome back to the show, buddy.
Well, it's great to be back talking about natural medicines again, a favorite of your audience, for sure.
Every time we have you on, and it seems like it's just the same old, a lot of people keep talking to me about their sleep habits.
Yeah.
And I think today we should take a little bit more steps of some of the symptoms that we're trying to get rid of.
Well, that's right. No, there's a lot of problems with the nervous system it can become pathological, and one of those is insomnia. You can't just constantly have insomnia and struggle with the natural process of falling asleep and then also waking up quite a bit at night without it wearing you down.
Yeah.
We don't want it to wear you down. So that's one. But the other thing is like anxiety, neurosis. Mm-hmm. Some people say it's psychological, but some of this can be just physical: agitation, irritability, anxiety, depression. And some of that can actually be due to Candida albicans, the fungus yeast, which causes a lot of agitation and irritability as well as depression. Mm-hmm. Some of it can be nutritional deficiency. People just aren't getting enough B vitamins and key nutrients. Mm-hmm. So if you've got anxiety, depression, irritability, nervousness, nervous agitation, if you can't handle stress, it's an imbalance in the body. And then in the most extreme, it's like this: they can't relax during the day, so you're not, and then you can't sleep at night. Mm-hmm. You're all tired because you're exhausted by the time you get home, but you can't sleep at night. That's the most psychotic world to live in you can imagine. It's just not good.
Now, when you were writing The Cures in the Cupboard and the Cannabis Cure, how much of this was on the focal point, like the forefront of it, that this is what people are suffering from the most and could get the most benefit from all these extracts that you're so proud of, all the research you've done on?
Trying to help people with the chronic ill health and move the needle and get some results. Mm-hmm. We got to throw in, if the adrenal glands are exhausted, you have to take into consideration all these factors in order to help people recover or to get cured easily. You know what I'm saying? And I found a lot of people with chronic infection, chronic viral infection, viral syndrome, chronic candida. They also had trouble sleeping. The inflammation and infestations mm-hmm. and the chronic pain that's associated with having these syndromes. So it all goes into play. And to be honest with you, I like to have tools that are effective, so that if somebody says, "Look, doctor, I'm having insomnia," and I say, "Well, what's the day like?" Well, I am a little on the nervous side. I worry a little bit, or perhaps they have fatigue. They're really fatigued. Chronic fatigue syndrome, which is usually viral and fungal, and still they can't sleep. I want to get a little history. And then I say, okay, it's like pathological. We have to treat the disease process. It's not enough just to say, here, take some cannabis extract. Now, it's valuable, but I like to have a few tools in my little tool chest. So if they have fungal, I want to treat them with the oil of oregano. We've talked about that before. Mm-hmm. I want them, to take the the oil of wild oregano, edible type, the juice of oregano, and usually that combination. And if they have a imbalance in their nerve circuitry, then I want to use the cannabis as a tool.
Now, this is one question I don't think we've ever really touched on, but let's say you're a beginner, right? And you order the cannabis cure and the cure's in the cupboard, and you really start doing your research. What do you think should be the next step if you're trying to make the right health choices to, for lack of a better word, detoxify yourself?
I'll tell you something. About 35 years ago, I was basically a dead man. You can see on my website, I almost embarrassingly show you my picture. And so I tried positive thinking, changing the diet. The diet did help. I got off the carbohydrates and went high protein. It helped a bit. I tried, but I couldn't move the needle. I couldn't get out of that syndrome that I had to quit practicing medicine. I was too sick to treat patients. The only way I got out, I want to make it real simple for everybody listening, was to take the herb.
Really?
You see? Mm-hmm. This is the old thing of Prophet Muhammad, I think, said, yeah, okay, tie the camel, lock the door to the car, and say the prayer. Don't just say the prayer, leave all the jewelry in the car and walk off.
Right.
So, you have to do something aggressive to get out of that disease process. So you buy the cures in the cupboard, the cannabis cure book kit, you study it. Now what do I do? Well, if you have fungal overload, you got to kill the fungus. Mm-hmm. Don't fiddle around with something feeble like a bit of caprylic acid and a change in diet. Yeah, get rid of the sugar, but you got to root the fungus out, or you're never going to have any peace. You're never going to have any good health. If you got ringworm, athlete's foot, jock itch, vaginitis, toenail fungus, or maybe not such overt symptomology. You have brain fog, bloating when you eat, craving of sugar, indigestion, heartburn, irritability, anxiety. You don't have any, but they're still fungal. You got to kill the fungus. Here's the disconnect. If you have fungal overload, the fungus produces acetaldehyde and formaldehyde and other poisons. It short circuits everything. I don't care how much detox you do, you got to kill the stupid thing.
On average, like for Americans specifically, how hard or how long of a process is that? Because I can imagine just looking at the diet of the average person, it does not help. What the average person lives, the way the average person lives, this can't be an easy or at least a quick fix, right?
No, it's a lot quicker now that we've got the tools.
Sure.
But yeah, if a person took an inventory of yourself, why don't you go right now and look in the mirror? Mm-hmm. Is your complexion ruddy? Are you a little bit blown up? Are you holding fluids? Do you have a craggy appearance or just drawn-out appearance? And you look at yourself and you say, I do look tired. Mm-hmm. Do you bloat after you eat? Do you have some of the other things like itchy skin and circular lesions like ringworm lesions or athlete's with the obvious stuff? Mm-hmm. But the big thing is, are you eating the sugar? If you're eating the sugar and you're craving it and you're just constantly getting some kind of sugar down that's heavily processed, like corn syrup or refined sugar or beet sugar or rice syrup or maple sugar, you're going to have a lot of fungus in your body. Especially if you also, what about this? If you've been taking a lot of antibiotics. Because maybe you're just doing everything wrong. You have sinusitis, you have acne, you have bronchitis, you have chronic lung, cough or something, which is fungal, and you're taking antibiotics. You see what I'm saying? So we kind of have to. The next step is to if you got the fungus, you got to take it out. The same with the cannabis. If your nervous system is shot from stress, who wouldn't be? The way we live, and two people trying to make an earning and raising. Mm-hmm. If you had a kid and you were relatively wealthy, you gave the kid to a wet nurse for 3 years. Our mothers bear the children, then they have to breastfeed, then they have to run the household, and they go to work. You see? Mm-hmm. So it's completely impossible to not get burnout. And when that brain burns out, that's when you got to take the tools. You can't just do it with therapy and sitting on a couch talking to a friend. You have to take the cannabis, because cannabis is the premier extract for regenerating the brain. And, even when you take cannabis extract, even to a degree pot smoking, which we don't endorse because there's too many complications from that, and you get into denial and you say it doesn't bother me, and yet there's carbon monoxide and all kinds of issues. But the cannabis extract is non-addictive, of course, and it's a medicine. But even marijuana causes some improvement in the brain chemistry in some arenas. Better is the extract, which has been shown to actually regenerate brain cells.
Thank you for keeping it tuned into Outreach Radio Chicago. We're on Twitter at mmercado2333. Please do us a huge favor. Like us on Facebook at Outreach Radio Chicago. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Mercado 2333. Also, guys, we have the very new webpage. Just go to mercadoairwaves.wordpress.com and you can see all the great stuff that we have done over the last few months, including one of our more popular shows that we have done, and it was with Dr. David Magnano, and he is kind enough to join us again here on Outreach Radio Chicago. Doc, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And the doc is here from us from naturesources.com. That's 2 S's. And you can dial 800-827-7656 for free samples. And Doc, it's almost the end of summertime, and a lot of people have regretted a lot of decisions that they've made over the last few months of all the barbecues and all the good food that we've eaten. Can you give us a little idea of some of the common mistakes that a lot of us have made over the last few months that are making us feel a little icky right now?
So, these barbecues are just absolutely fantastic. They're great fun, and I love them. And there's no reason to really feel like sick or have the barbecue bloat or feel lousy afterwards if we can just follow some real simple things. So, basically, whenever somebody has disturbance, whether that's the bloat, whether it's indigestion, reflux, gas, constipation, diarrhea, any of those things, it's basically just a sign that the body is not able to break down the foods that we're putting into our digestive system the way it should. And what we've learned over the years is one of the key ingredients that helps to break down the foods that we eat are enzymes, digestive enzymes. And the beautiful thing about nature is there's enzymes in all the foods that we eat. Unfortunately, when we heat that food over 118 or 119 degrees, it actually kills off the enzyme. And then it's not really a benefit to our body or our digestive system. So we're really encouraging our patients to try to get more raw fruits and vegetables into their meal. And in doing so, then they're getting all the benefits of those digestive enzymes to help to break down the foods. And, like with the barbecues, what we're really finding is we're really encouraging everybody to try to get some pineapple or papaya in because they're loaded with bromelain, which is a great digestive enzyme that will help to break down the protein, the meat source, whether it's the rib, the steak, the burger, the fish, the chicken, any of those protein sources. The pineapple and papaya will help to actually break that down. So it makes the whole digestive process work much smoother.
For somebody like me personally, I love hamburgers. I love hot dogs. I'm a meat eater. I can't help it. I know I'm supposed to eat better, or at least I'm supposed to mix some of the greens in there. But let's say for the person that it only at least gravitates towards the burgers and the steaks and whatnot, are they digesting it the right way? I feel like, at least for me personally, I have a heavier feeling in my gut after I've eaten, 2 or 3 or 6 burgers. So what exactly is going on? Are the enzymes breaking it down? Because when this interview came down the wire, the first thing I realized was I've never heard of the thing proteins. What exactly are those, and how does that affect someone like me who loves hamburgers?
So, and I, like you, I'm a big meat eater. I love to eat meat, and I'm a big fan of protein, and I know a lot of people are. Well, here's a couple of things that we've learned over the years. Number one, when somebody has a digestive disturbance, whether they feel that heaviness or, we have older patients that feel very run down after they eat, almost like they have to take a nap or something, that what the cause of that is 9 out of 10 times that their body is not able to break down the protein source. A lot of people had thought it was the sugars or the fats or some other things, but what we've learned, it's always the protein source. It's by far the most difficult thing to break down. And what we're trying to get is we're trying to get enough enzymes to break down the protein source. And once we do that, we notice that digestion for even the cakes, the cookies, the ice cream, any of the stuff afterwards that sometimes appears to be causing the digestive trouble, it's not a problem if we can get the protein source broken down. And it's really very simple to do that. We just have to get enough enzymes in our body. A lot of our patients, I know you mentioned Nature Sources. Mm-hmm. That's a great company. Our patients love to work with them. The product that we're very happy with that they sell is called Absorbate. It's nothing more than ground up fruits and vegetables with high potencies of enzymes to break down the foods. And a lot of our patients are taking that with their meals, and it's helping to break down the protein. And in doing so, then everything else runs very smooth as far as digestion goes. So that's why if you're not getting the raw fruits and vegetables in, we try to supplement with some additional enzymes to get things broken down as they should. And if I can mention something about how things get broken, the digestive system,
please.
It's actually very, very interesting. Obviously, when we eat some food, we want it broken down into small enough pieces that our cells can get the benefits, the vitamins, minerals, nutrients, protein sources from those foods that we've eaten. But in today's society, in our environment today, there's so much junk, pesticides, toxins, there's altered hormones, there's all this stuff in our food that doesn't actually belong in our food. Mm-hmm. And the other thing we've learned about using enzymes is by breaking down the foods, you break it down into two pretty much categories. The good stuff that we want to break down, the vitamins, nutrients, proteins, that stuff that we want to use and want to feed ourselves with. But the other benefit of using an enzyme is you get to break down all the junk, the toxins that we do not want. And if that happens as it should through digestion, then those negative toxic chemicals can be excreted as they should, and of course don't end up in our bloodstream and don't produce the inflammation and some of the other problems that come with that toxic environment. So we found that was also pretty interesting when we started doing more and more with digestion.
Now, with all that you guys have learned and figuring out what exactly the supplements that you should be taking, I believe it was called Absorbate, that you could find at naturesources.com or dial 800-827-7656. Dr. David Magnano, one of our trusted guests here on Outreach Radio Chicago, swears by this type of stuff. And it just gets me thinking that is there an actual step-by-step process of the right foods you should be eating? Or let's say you're going to the barbecue. We know that they're not going to have the most healthiest of food. Is there a graph, a chart, a step-by-step process of what you should eat, how much you should eat of it for those who aren't taking the proper digestive enzymes or for those who are?
Well, I tell you, for those that are not taking a supplement enzyme, we're always encouraging them to have the protein source first. The chicken, the ribs, the burger, the steak. Have that first because that's the most difficult thing to digest. And then before you get into any of the other stuff, as far as the noodle salad, potato salad, corn on the cob, any of that, is to have some raw fruits and vegetables. Mm-hmm. Because if you can have that right after the protein source, it'll help to break down the protein source. And again, what we've learned, if we can get the proteins broken down, we're not going to bog down the system for anything else that follows. So have the protein source, then have some raw fruits and vegetables. I mean, we've even been trying to cut up broccoli and peppers and cucumbers and carrots and just pick on these things sort of after the protein source. If you can throw some pineapple and papaya in there, man, that is fantastic. Mm-hmm. And then after that, then you can get into the potato salads and all the other stuff. That would be the best sequence. Now, if you're using Absorbate or you try some of the free samples from Absorbate, you don't have to be as concerned about the sequence of the food. You can basically throw it all in because you're going to add a ton of enzymes by using the Absorbate supplement. And that either comes in a capsule form, or a lot of our patients actually like the chewable form. They just chew it up right when they first start eating their meal. And so if you're using a digestive enzyme, the sequence of how you eat your foods is not that important. And if you aren't using a digestive enzyme and you're getting plenty of raw fruits and vegetables, then we really encourage the raw fruits and vegetables after the protein source.
So with the digestive enzymes being natural and something that your body creates to try to destroy the proteins and whatnot, one thing that concerns me, or at least popped into my head, are taking products like, let's say, a Tums or a Pepto. Even though they're giving you relief, is it almost one of those double-edged swords type of situation, like a ibuprofen or anything like that, where even though it's giving you temporary relief, it's still doing some damage to your body? Because I can't imagine the stuff that you're eating in Tums and that chalk or that pink goo coming out of Pepto is naturally meant to be put into your body, right?
You're absolutely correct. It is a double-edged sword. And what we've learned about anything that falls into that antacid category, which are all the products you just mentioned, here's what we know. We know that the stomach should have a certain environment of acid. And, so we can look at that on a pH scale, which is nothing more than saying it's got a lot of acid in it or a little acid or no acid. So we use the pH scale. And in the stomach, it's a very tight range for things in digestion to occur as it should. And if digestion is not occurring as it should, then people run into problems with their stomach. They feel acid, they feel reflux, heartburn, all that stuff. And then, of course, they're using medications to minimize the amount of acid in the stomach. Here's the problem that creates. There's a bacteria in all of our stomachs called H. pylori. H. pylori will not grow in the proper acidic environment. It's only going to have a very minimal role in the proper acidic environment. If you're taking an antacid or any of those products that will change the acidity in the stomach, it allows that H. pylori to grow. And what H. pylori does when it grows is it starts to chew away at the stomach lining. And we all know what that is, right? It continues to chew away at it. It produces a hole in the stomach, which is also called an ulcer. And this becomes a very serious thing, and it actually is obviously not a good thing at all. So here's the problem. Somebody has some reflux, they have some heartburn, they're not feeling well after they eat, so they go to some medication, and the medication actually allows a more severe problem to develop, which will be a lot more of a challenge to fix, rather than just trying to fix the initial, sort of red flag of, boy, I have some reflux or indigestion or barbecue bloat or any of those things. So you're totally correct. It's a double-edged sword, and we should look for other solutions that work with the body and the systems rather than sort of fight against those systems, which then always lead to another problem.
Dr. David Magnano joins us here on Outreach Radio Chicago for a few more moments. Please go to naturesources.com or dial 800-827-7656. You get your free samples. You can also do a lot of research, guys. There's a lot of good testimony, bios, and information about these products, including Absorbate that the good doc was mentioning to us. Now, does age have something to do with this? Is it a factor when it comes to how much your body is creating when it comes to all these acids and these enzymes and what you're putting into it? How much does your age affect the outcome of how you're going to feel after a certain meal?
It affects it quite a bit. You have great acid and enzyme production up till the age of about 25.
Wow.
We know 24, 25, the enzyme production starts to decrease. And if you were to look at sort of a graph that would show a line going up and then hitting a peak and then sort of gradually going down, what we've seen with enzyme production is that, from 25 to 35, it decreases, and then it goes down from 35 to 45. Once you hit that 50-year-old mark, the enzyme production becomes very, very limited. So that's a wonderful time to start adding some digestive enzymes with that. And what we've learned with acid, is the stomach acid, the digestive acid, is that starts to decrease production as well around 25, but it doesn't actually start to hit the downslope until after 35. And again, once you're into your 40s and you start to hit 50, the acid production is decreased as well. So it is affected by age, And the more we learn about this, the more we can create very simple aids that will help the body work in as close to a normal environment as it can. There's actually one doctor out in California who I've had a couple conversations with, and a real bright doc, and he's actually using enzymes as part of an anti-aging program to try to keep the body fully filled with all the nutrients and vitamins, and using enzymes to help do that, to keep the cells as healthy as they can for the duration of that cell's life. And he's getting some really good results with it, and it's really such a simple solution. So, but yeah, age does have quite a bit of effect on it.
What is the time, or at least the order, that we should be setting out the dishes, the plates? I think a lot of people always have that worry in general. It's like, when is it too early to start feeding people? When is it too late to start feeding people? But when is it too early or too late to keep them from having heartburn and nasty digestion and cursing your name the next morning?
Oh, well, again, it's always the protein source. If you have snacks, as people arrive, or you're having a picnic and you're having some snacks, and that could be, like the cut up veggies, it could be cheese and crackers, could be chips and pretzels and things of that nature. That's not really going to cause a heck of a lot of problem, though I personally would try to, at least include some of those cut up raw vegetables with it. And then once you get into the actual meal, if you can focus on trying to eat the protein source first, and then immediately following the protein source, any raw fruits and vegetables that you can have, that would be a great way to go. And then, then after that, you can get into all the different, potato salads and noodle salads and all that stuff. What we do know is that after the main meal, if you can wait 20 or 30 minutes before you get started on any of the desserts, that just takes a lot of the stress off the digestive system, and just people feel much better. They can enjoy their dessert a lot better with that. I do get asked about alcohol. A little bit of alcohol before your meal is not going to be a bad thing. Of course, it can get into a situation where it's too much, and then it could, then it causes problems. But a little bit of alcohol prior to the meal is not a bad thing.
Oh, it's going to be a long bear season. Dr. David Magnano. Dr. David Magnano, before I let you go, I have to ask this question. We're talking about all this food and all this good times. When the doc gets into a family, barbecue, family picnic, and he sees all the food on the table, and he sees all the goodies and all the bad stuff for us, name or give us the perfect Dr. David Magnano guilty or healthy plate at a picnic or barbecue. What is your go-to?
Okay, well, I love ribs, and my wife does fantastic ribs. So nice. I'd go right for the ribs. I'd probably, because now, I know so much about this, I'd probably throw some, broccoli, carrots, and red peppers, some pineapple, and papaya right after that. But then, after I have the ribs, then I would have, those veggies and fruits. Then I would definitely go to the noodle salad and the cornbread. My wife makes a wonderful cornbread, and it's got jalapenos cut up in it. It's just delicious. And that's how I would finish it off.
I think it's time to go get some lunch, Doc. Doc, before we let you go, Doc, why don't you plug a few things? We have naturesources.com, or if you want any free samples, just dial 800-827-7656. One of the products that the doc mentioned was Absorbed Aid. Again, it's at the very least, folks, if you're interested in anything like this, trust in the good doc to at least do the research and check out the website and see if anything clicks with you. If you've noticed that you're feeling any type of ickiness and that in your stomach, especially this late in the summer, check it out, guys. Doc, you have any plugs you wanna give to the people of Chicago?
Well, I just want to say, we've done this simple thing a few years ago with our weight loss patients, and I think, at my age, I'm always interested in trying to watch my weight. I know a lot of my friends and family are as well. We've really encouraged people to try to chew their food a little bit more, but primarily to slow down the eating process. And what we're seeing is people are basically eating less food. Of course, we're using enzymes and trying to put the raw fruits and vegetables in as well. But just asking people to slow down seems to do a world of good for digestion and how somebody feels, after their meal and into the night. So that would be sort of my last added point. You know, if you can slow it down at all while you're eating it, it seems to work out fantastic.
naturesources.com, 1-800-827-7656. Check out all the cool stuff the good doc just told us about. Take the advice, guys. Look at, and we work so hard to get our summer bodies. Let's not try to destroy it in 3 months, please. Dr. David Magnano, you are awesome. Thank you so much, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I enjoyed speaking with you, and you guys have a great day.
That'll do it for us here on Outreach Radio Chicago. One last thank you to Dr. Cass Ingram and Dr. David Magnano for joining us. Follow us everywhere in the universe. We're on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Outreach Radio Chicago. You can follow me on Instagram to see cool photos of the show at Mike Mercado 2333. Subscribe to me on YouTube to see past videos, YouTube/Mike Mercado 2333. We also have the new webpage. Just go to mercadoairwaves.wordpress.com. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time on Outreach Radio Chicago. Take us home, Hav.